Welcome to the first review of what I'm calling Aussie August. As an American who's always had an appreciation for the land down under but hasn't had the opportunity or means to visit, I figured a good way to experience that great southern land is via the interactive medium of video games. This August, I'll review 3 Australian-developed titles set in Australia with Australian subject matters. Very true for our first title. No, not Hentai Saves Australia, but a survival action-adventure developed by Ayrtech and released in 2023. My name is Harvey Bodega, and welcome to Straya. I'll admit, I thought Straya was probably a meme game. I mean, I was going to play it either way, but naming a game Straya is like naming an American title Murica, terms mostly used to parody the overly patriotic. Also, blatantly playing up the joke that all Australian wildlife is trying to kill you. We all know Australian creatures are bizarre. They've got kangaroos, the wombat has square turds, the platypus just doesn't seem real, Mel Gibson actually learned he's an American living in Australia, so egg on our face. I always thought my dog looked a bit like a thylacine. Anyway, I assumed this was meant to be funny, maybe a Unity Store asset flip with a playful Australian skin. Boy, was I wrong. Straya is a hidden gem that deserves more attention, with engaging to tense to terrifying gameplay, an understatedly captivating story, and one of the most unexpectedly awe-inspiring visuals I've ever seen. It won't seem that way at first, though. Straya opens with a jeep ride through the bush setting the scene. It's 1960 Australia, when the government had bounties on a lot of animals, native or invasive, and you're playing a hunter setting off to make their fortune. Despite my accolades, Straya absolutely does not put its best foot forward. One of the first things you do is a series of tutorial quests for a guy who looks like this. The human character models are really bad, unless that's just what some people look like down there. Aussie viewers, let me know. The town environment is very simple, with basic textures, a rudimentary layout, and a few reused assets. The user interface is one of the most primitive I've ever seen, like muddy brown Microsoft Paint shapes. Your horse and the few animals that may attack in town will not blow your mind, and the 2 generic scratch marks signifying many attacks, not so great. On their own, outside of the spoiler section, none of the animals, plants, animations, or environmental assets are anything more than basic, though I did like the FJ45 and the Border Collie. Once you finish a few quests and get out in the bush, though, everything comes together. The day-night cycle, weather effects, different biomes, animal variety, accurate flora, geological formations, and recognizable Australian landmarks like Uluru, Lake Disappointment, and Wave Rock. Straya is a bit of an Australian Easter egg hunt with heavy references to Aboriginal Australian folklore, history, and more. Are Aussie mosquitoes and rats really this big? I don't have to ask about the spiders though, I know that's true. I really enjoyed the exploration and was affectionately reminded of Pathologic 2 and PvP open-world combat games like Rust or PlayerUnknown Battleground. Incredibly immersive environments, made of relatively simplistic assets, paired with sudden and unexpected bursts of violence. Whether true in real life or not, and with very few exceptions, everything in Straya is trying to kill you. No PvP necessary. The ever-present threat of wildlife will shift from whimsical to tense and gripping. The visuals are absolutely greater than the sum of their parts, only amplified by effective sound design. I'd put money these are accurate to Australian habitats. Everything sounds as it should, varying from fitting to serviceable to chilling. You'll hear an anxiety-inducing animal noise, turn, see some giant fucking bird with its neck flopping around, boom, blood will splatter on your screen with a meaty splash, and the clink of the bounty reward continues to remind you, this is what the government asked for. Dingoes howl, kangaroos grunt, and I learned Tasmanian devils make terrible noises. Music will creep in at various points with mysterious didgeridoos and cryptic melodies, and I often wondered if I was approaching a place of mystic significance when they crept in. Subtle and occasionally ambient, the score adds to the enigmatic sensation of the bush. Voice acting is scarce and basic.
Some native to the land, some not.
G'day, mate.
G'day, mate.
G'day. But the audio amplified the immersion and esoteric tone. You'll feel the presentation come together wonderfully. Here's an example. I'm out exploring. I arrive at this facility at night. It's dark. I'm seeing bloodstains. No one is to be found. What is this? Some sort of spooky kangaroo meatpacking plant? I have no idea what to expect. Oh no, something sees me. I hear some noises. I whip around, then... I was questioning if I was in a cursed place and needed to get the heck out of there. Moments like these are incredibly effective, and the tension of the unexpected keeps even mundane travel interesting. Straya's presentation excels out in the diverse, immersive environments, but is underwhelming to slightly amateurish if you focus on any individual asset. Gameplay mechanics gel with the presentation to elevate tension and immersion. First and foremost, your goal is to survive and make money. Remember the advice my grandfather always told me. Monitor your 3 bars: stamina, water, and health. Stamina functions a lot like Pathologic 2, controlling how long you can run and jump, and being more dehydrated limits your max stamina. Run out of water, you dehydrate to death, so keep your canteen filled from natural fresh water or the variety of canisters. I never had much of an issue with water, as sources are plentiful, but that's less true of health. As we covered, everything's trying to kill you, so while the very slow health regeneration is nice, you'll need to heavily rely on healing items. There are 4 major types. Anti-venom, which I insist keep on hand at all times. Get bitten by a brown snake or a redback spider far from camp, you'll die. I mean it, keep at least 2 on hand. Of the other 3 items, the efficacy of each is increased by its Aussie slang classification. Bonza, Ice, Ripper. Bandages instantly heal a percentage of health and stop bleeding, regen elixirs regenerate health over time, and stamina elixirs increase running speed and stamina regeneration. No items increase maximum health, and only 1 decreases damage taken. Immediately recognizable to Australians, I'll fill in everyone else. In the late 1870s, Ned Kelly, the bushranger outlaw, had been terrorizing the Australian state of Victoria, stealing stuff, killing people he didn't like, and to the horror of the Australian government, playing inappropriate video games. While many then and today consider him a Robin Hood type figure, his story comes to an epic head on the 28th of June, 1880. Donning a suit of armor smelted from stolen plows, Ned Kelly and his gang have a shootout with police. Bullets are ricocheting off as he slowly advances. Nothing's stopping him, until shot twice in his uncovered legs with a shotgun. He survived, but was hanged shortly afterward, and is an Australian legend. Look at this guy. He's so handsome, and his haircut's back in style. In Straya, you can find pieces of his armor with a metal detector, and, like for Ned, will greatly limit mobility and vision, but greatly lower damage received. Mostly, though, you'll be unprotected, constantly bandaging yourself, chocked full of anti-venom, and spending a lot of money on these items. To alleviate some of the expense, they can be crafted from plants collected in your tucker bag, no jolly jumbuck to be found. Thankfully, you don't need to eat or sleep. Using the bed just changes the time of day, so just focus on health and water. Of course, the question we have to ask is, what happens when you die? While many more intelligent people have ruminated on this question, I can't answer in Straya's case. Potentially controversial, if you die, you respawn back in camp, losing several items and $30 and cannot reload the game to avoid this. We're in autosave territory, baby. No save scumming. And I tried. It's not so bad as items are left behind in a Rust or PUBG-like little bag, but I insist you know a few things. Die in deep water, your stuff is gone. Die, quit the game, and reload, your stuff is gone. Die twice in a row, the stuff lost initially is gone. Keeping those instances in mind, it's not so punishing, but definitely open to frustrating moments. Other ways to spend your hard-earned money include items like batteries for your flashlight, bug repellent, a scope for the rifle, more carrying capacity, up to 8 quick-use slots. The knife doesn't take ammo, but is an ineffective weapon.
That's not a knife.
And guns make a huge difference, but need ammunition that costs money. Even kitted out with the best guns and best healing items, Straya is never easy. I thought the eye and ear icons indicating when enemies can see or hear you would lower tension, but every time one popped up, I was whipping around waiting for some natural horror to attack me. Aw, dingoes kinda look like Akitas or Shiba Inus. Wait a minute. Dingoes equal Doge? Enemy AI is very simple but effective. They'll beeline for you, occasionally sliding to the left and right a little bit, attack, then kite away. Plenty of times I'd hear an enemy, never see it, get attack, and just hear it running away. It's engaging, it's immersive, and I don't know, I really like it. Of course, you'll see this behavior most when you're just hiking around. So, other than walking, how do you get around? Well, you got Nelly, the way I got around the most. She's a right ripper Sheila, immortal, faster than running, never tires, but hates reptiles. If you see one of those big lizards like that dinosaur from Jurassic Park, a poisonous brown snake, or... Oh my god. She'll take off, leaving you in the lurch. You can run after her and whistle for her to come back, but I had to walk occasionally having lost her. Next option, you got two different automobiles. The Jeep, which I almost instantly flipped over, and the Mad Max car you unlock later. Unlike the rebooted Mad Max franchise, excluding Furiosa,
full tank of water for half a tank of gasoline.
Can't do that, not possible.
the original is Australian in setting, accents, and culture from the vehicles to the plots.
Beats from there to beats from there.
Y'all should watch Thunderdome. It's wild. I had by far the most trouble with cars and used them the least. They take fuel, which gets expensive quickly, and handle terrain very poorly. The best option to cover ground the quickest, but also uses the most fuel, is the helicopter. Once you figure out the controls, make sure you don't run out of gas. The only concern is making sure you don't run into any trees. Jokes aside, I learned to control it really well, and despite guzzling fuel, it's the only safe way to travel. It is safe, but they hit you with a spider jump scare every once in a while, and it scared the shit out of me the first time. The final way to get around is fast travel, which I did not care for at first as I enjoyed the bush travel so much. However, it's expensive and can make a huge difference in lowering tedium or frustration. Finish a quest, $50 at any phone booth gets back to the pub, or you can call in your quest and start the next one right from that booth. Otherwise, interact with the tire to fast travel to any location for a fee, although I only used it when I had disposable income or when I was really frustrated after dying. Otherwise, you can fast travel to land you've purchased for free, which is a fun option. All of this could be yours. See, while Straya is open world and you can traverse the entire mainland, the map is just big enough. Everything is customized, so no random generation nonsense, and the national landmarks are close enough without seeming on top of each other. I wish I could manually mark the map or zoom in, but the world is a good size and no areas feel superfluous.
You know, except for those chuckleheads over there in...
I don't know enough to make this joke. Maybe Geelong? The fact you can't go to Tasmania is disappointing though. I was hoping for a secret Tasmanian tiger enemy, but Straya is still getting updated, so maybe, who knows? Alright, we've covered how to survive and what to spend your money on, but mostly your job is making money, and there are a lot of ways to do it. As mentioned already, we have the bounties, where rarer, more aggressive animals like crocodiles earn more than, goats. As opposed to the hunter mode, which emphasizes the bounty system and starts you with better items, normal mode doesn't have you loot enemies, other than rabbit skins, as killing animals automatically provides their cash bounty. I wish Straya gave extra bounty for kills from very far away, but their marksman achievements are a nice additional award for something like sniping a kangaroo from a helicopter. Of course, some animals earn no bounty at all, like bugs or koalas, but you don't want to go wantonly mowing these down. Not only are several poisonous, but kill too many in a short period of time and you'll be cursed. Spirits call for retribution against you, and during this time, enemies will be more aggressive and other threats will appear, like... Oh my god. We'll get to him in the story section, don't worry. I was only ever cursed once, so if you just play normally, you may not experience a curse at all. Okay, we got a little sidetracked. Other methods of making money involve foraging, using a metal detector, panning for gold, fishing, crabbing, catching venomous snakes, catching chickens, gambling, playing darts, following treasure maps, completing contracts, and going on hunts, some of which I never did at all, while others I did extensively. The two I want to highlight are contracts and hunts. One great, one not great. Hunts jump you to one of the few locations of choice and involve standing on the back of our trusty Yoda Ute and shooting animals. Basically, you're investing in ammo for a potential return in bounty. These are great especially for recouping losses, like, an example being losing your expensive gun in deep water. When the hunt ends, you'll even have the option to get off right where the hunt ends or automatically return to base, so it's good as a free fast travel option to those specific locations. Contracts, on the other hand, involve killing a certain number of enemies for a reward and have two major issues. They can't be active at the same time as a main quest, and finding 7 or so of the same animal can be surprisingly frustrating. Yes, you get a bracelet to help track animals, but right when I started a contract, I couldn't find any of what they were asking for. While likely coincidental, I don't want to be distracted from main missions. It'd be really nice to do contracts passively, but that's not an option. Main quests advance the plot and pay out upon completion, a more reliable, engaging, and fun way to make money, but like the presentation not putting its best foot forward, neither do the missions. Functioning as a tutorial, the first dozen missions or so have you running around camp, talking to people, and finding things following blue markers on the map. Initially, I thought the marker system would bug me, but given the size of the map and never knowing what you'll find, it does cut down aimlessness. So there's the basic loop of Straya. You know that you have to survive, you know you have to spend money to survive, and you know you have a lot of ways to make money. It keeps the gameplay loop engaging and interesting, especially when following the main quest. Worth mentioning are a few performance hiccups, sporadic lag, a low draw distance, and loading screens being quite long. While a few goofy things fixed after a reload occurred,
G'day.
the only consistent bug was if the Mad Max car got stuck, the game didn't recognize me as back inside it, and it could no longer be used. You have the option to tow it back to base, but this happened every time I drove it. Of course, the performance rarely detracts from the gameplay experience. Straya's mechanics and systems are satisfyingly interwoven, providing a variety of gameplay options, maintaining a level of engagement, and at a base level, are fun. On to the narrative, which not only starts off at its weakest point, but I'll be honest, I wasn't even sure Straya had a story. I can confidently tell you that it barely has one, and I really liked it. The entire plot is a series of missions given by the publican, a word I had to Google, meaning the owner-operator of a pub. He tells you to do something, you do it, get paid, and go back for the next mission. As mentioned, these start as pretty dry tutorial quests, but as you progress, will vary from tense, to bizarre, to discreetly comedic, all incredibly Australian. For example, an early tutorial mission has you learning light platforming by fixing a woman's television antenna so she can watch
Australian football, although you might hear it called Aussie rules, or even footy.
A later one has you navigating a crocodile-infested river looking for a missing person, only to find he got eaten. Job well done. One I have to gush over is being tasked with winning the Emu War. A brief summary of the Emu War is during the Great Depression, Australian farmers, many Great War veterans, were having their crops either eaten or simply flattened by thousands of emus. As a response, in November of 1932, the Aussie government launched a military operation employing Lewis machine guns. After several campaigns, the Australians suffered no casualties, but spent 9,860 rounds of ammunition to kill 986 emus, exactly 10 rounds per bird. Of an estimated population of 20,000, the military looked at the bill for 200,000 rounds of ammunition and simply had to give up, supplying local farmers with some ammunition in hopes they'd defend their own crops. It's great. What could be more Australian than being armed with a Lewis machine gun, wearing Ned Kelly's armor, and winning the Emu War? Later, however, missions start getting more cryptic, like we've heard something weird is going on, go check it out, or investigate sightings of strange phenomena or creatures of Aboriginal Australian mythology. One quest sends you to find a Min-Min light, inexplicable balls of light mostly sighted in the Channel Country of the Outback, similar to the Marfa lights in Texas, Gurdon light in Arkansas, or lights above the Arby's in Night Vale. Coming into contact with a Min-Min teleports you to a random set of ruins anywhere on the map, which, if you're anything like me, was always terrifically inconvenient. So while the missions feel like a series of fun, disjointed tasks, a narrative suddenly leaps out of the wilderness with one of the most powerfully jarring visuals I've ever seen. If you can't tell already, I want you to experience this game if at all interested. It deserves more eyes on it, so please adhere to the spoiler warning if you find yourself liking the premise. You can jump forward to the time on screen now to avoid these details and just hear my finishing thoughts. You know, while you're deciding, just want to say I've really enjoyed playing these Aussie games and have legitimately learned a lot about Australian culture and history doing this. Maybe I'll do it again next August. Let me know if you have any super Australian games to recommend. Alright, well, late in the game, the publican sends you on a quest to simply check out the crater. Something weird is going on, go check it out. By this point, you've had similar quests, so they may begin to feel like old hat. While I head that way, still about 20 kilometers away and cresting a hill? Oh Other than an incredibly missable hint on newspapers occasionally strewn on the ground, aliens are completely unexpected and their ship is enormous. There's no musical cue or cutscene, they're just there. Everything up to this point has been shooting animals and a few mythological creatures, so I was awestruck. A humanoid alien is visible for a moment before it disappears, then you kill alien snakes, giant wasp creatures, and any native wildlife who tries to kick your ass. After the victory, the UFO flies off. I figured your next few quests would involve fighting aliens, but just leaving the base in pursuit of the next mission while driving the Mad Max car, I look up to see the UFO is dumping wasp creatures on my location. It's completely unprecedented. In an already stressful environment where you can't trust the ground or the area around you, suddenly the sky feels just as hostile. A few quests later, you're sent to investigate a ship crashed between Victoria and Tasmania, the first mission to introduce Tasmanian devils. Not only do I have to deal with the crazy nasal noises that those things make, here marks the only appearance of sharks. Your task is to jump across shipping containers in shark-infested waters to get to the boat, and it's an incredibly tense, albeit slightly janky mission. Upon reaching the boat, you do some exploring, only for the UFO to suddenly appear and begin abducting the cargo. You run your ass back to shore as the aliens pull up the entire ship, and I jumped on Nellie to sprint all the way back to the pub. I was thinking I was safe, but the UFO reappeared and started chasing me. In the wide open areas of the bush, riding a horse backwards, firing a shotgun at alien wasps, a feeling crystallized. Despite being eviscerated, brutalized, and murdered by the wildlife here in Straya, I developed a defensiveness. It's our murder forest, not yours, alien bastards. The aliens feel particularly juxtaposed from the natural setting being so highly mechanized and advanced, and despite the wildlife being the main adversary you'll face most of the game, we're on the same team against the extraterrestrials. At least metaphorically. They'll still kill you at the first opportunity.
Bust the deal! Face the wheel!
Bust the deal and face the wheel.
Our Aboriginal Australian buddy Neville provides us with the next major mission, accessing a cavern through an open pit mine. The cavern leans heavily into the surreal for the first time, platforming over glowing yellow light, seeing an enormous serpent, and our friend, the rainbow serpent. I'm not at all an expert, but my understanding is the rainbow serpent is the creator deity in many Aboriginal Australian religions, attributed with life, creation, and the land, but occasionally kicks major ass if angered. It's an incredibly powerful figure, and given the extent of the significance, maybe our big serpent friend is the rainbow serpent, and the littler ones are helpers or something. I'm not sure. Well, in reaching the end of the cavern, Doc and Nev are waiting next to some alien machinery, providing a lore dump collected from cave paintings. Aliens have been in Oz for a long time, referenced in the Aboriginal tales of the Dreamtime, the era when life was created. Apparently, these aliens were combing the universe for strange phenomena and came to Australia after detecting one. They start tearing shit up, abducting people and stealing animals trying to find the source. No, it's not Vegemite. No, it's not Tim Tams, but these are really good. They eventually confirm the source as the Min Min lights. To study this power, the aliens built a secret facility underneath the crater and figured out how to use Min Mins for weapons, energy, and teleportation. After the lore dump, you get a gun that shoots Min Min lights, teleporting almost everything you hit away, and Nev says the village elders may have an object to access the underground facility. That's confirmed in another esoteric cavern, this time under Uluru. You find an alien hand allowing access to the facility, but the aliens release their squad of sentry robots to attack you. While breaking into the facility, I was immediately reminded of Doom 3 with a dark, heavily mechanized environment, and you really feel that juxtaposition between this and the natural world outside. Destroying all energy sources and robot manufacturing areas, you escape, leaving only one more task. Invade the UFO, blow shit up, force them to leave, and escape with your life. One bush Aussie Ranger against the Lovecraftian forces of the cosmos. Gaining access with the tractor beam, you'll find unaggressive, abducted animals. I know these have murdered me all game, but damn it, there are animals, not yours! Sliding through to destroy generators, kill robots, and defeat a few alien enemies, flee the UFO before it explodes. Upon doing so successfully, the only other cutscene in the game plays. Aboriginal Australians cheering as the UFO leaves. You've saved Oz. Credits roll. I'll say the epic battle against extraterrestrial squatters was a surprisingly satisfying narrative and didn't overstay its welcome. It had me feeling proud to be an Australian despite not being an Australian. Cresting the hill and seeing the UFO was so much more powerful because of the grounded, slightly whimsical setting, and I really enjoyed the alien conflict giving rise to feelings of protectiveness towards Australia. With that, let's welcome back our spoiler avoiders. Straya's narrative is unexpectedly engaging, and the exhilarating scale sneaks up on you. I have two small complaints though. First, talking to your mate Neville in the pub, who helps you craft and provides information about collectibles and wildlife, displays pictures of mythological creatures you'll encounter in later missions. While those missions are still exciting, I think they'd be way more effective if the creature images were hidden until after you've completed the quests, maybe with like a question mark or something. The other minor complaint is early self-guided exploration can lightly spoil later missions or result in unintended tedium. If you go to every crabbing spot in the game, you'll still be sent to several on missions. The kangaroo cannery was terrifying, but not long after I stumbled across it, I was sent there for a quest. There's a lot to find exploring on your own, but for the first half of the game, it may be best just to do the missions. These are minor complaints, as Straya's story is a lot of fun, and I'd really enjoy if someone were to make a deep dive into the lore, secrets, and mythology referenced here. From a marketing perspective, I'm sure the poor first impression across all aspects of Straya contributed to lower sales and attention, but I'm trying to do my part in acknowledging the subtle proficiency here. Even more impressive, let me give you another peek at the credits. One guy, a few playtesters. Jason Jaspos Poots has a fairly long resume, mainly in level design, but has dabbled with the indie scene off and on throughout his career. Straya is him finally stepping out on his own, the title hitting early access in 2021, then our full release back in 2023. Not only did I have some fun, but Straya really helped me in my goal for Aussie August, having me experience things about Australia I didn't know in a classically whimsical Aussie way. I legitimately want to visit more after playing, despite the death and destruction I experienced. As for a recommendation, I have made it clear I enjoyed Straya, but survival games are already divisive. A 15 to 20 hour indie experience with a misleading first couple hours may not be everyone's cup of tea, or maybe you just might not want to play a game about a country whose former prime minister shat himself in a McDonald's. I understand. In grading in each of my categories and compiling into a grade, Straya falls between This Bed We Made and Cultist Simulator in the recommendation tier, great for genre enjoyers, but anyone may appreciate. This poorly titled tier is fitting, as survival game fans are most likely to enjoy Straya, but I think anyone tickled by the premise will have a good time. A huge shout out to Jason Poots. I hope I can get more eyes on your impressive work. I'm going to shamelessly ask for a Tasmanian tiger, and thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the first of our Aussie romps. We've got 2 more coming. My name is Harvey Bodega, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Have you ever looked at a cassowary? Look at that thing. It's terrifying.